Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to our discussions.
Commissioner Simkowitz, I think, did you call on him?
Yeah, he did not have any.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had the question, not a comment.
Okay, so we are moving on to our discussions, and our biggest presenter tonight is Commissioner Elkins. You may recall that we spent a lot of money on some software called District Engage to engage our community in things that are important to our community. And Commissioner Elkins has spent an unbelievable amount of time coming up within the software, coming up with a project that is designed to get input from all over the neighborhood and beyond on the new bus routes. So I'm going to hand it over to Commissioner Elkins. He's going to be sharing a screen. We're going to be going through the bus routes, the changes that they are proposing, and then the engagement software. And this is our big launch, and we're going to be putting it out to the listserv, some neighboring listservs, and we're hoping to get a real robust idea of what we are looking for in terms of public transportation. On that note, I am going to hand this over to Commissioner Elkins.
Thanks very much. Can everybody see my screen there?
Sure can.
Okay, so as you indicated, WMATA is coming out with what I think are their final proposal or near final proposals for changing the bus system. We are lucky, I think, in the sense that the new, recently new chairman of WMATA is very focused on buses, not just the metro. And so since we don't have a metro station anywhere near us, this favors our neighborhood. And this is something that we ought to pay a lot of attention to because WMATA needs support, and it needs some comments from us about their proposals. If they're not quite right, we need to give them the specifics. Each of us can individually look at these bus routes and say, well, you know, it's not going here, maybe it should go there. But each of us, though, it depends on where we normally take the bus, where we're going or whatever. And so that's true of every one of our constituents. And so this is why I would argue a survey is very important, because we need to hear from our community as a whole about what changes the community would like to see, not just individuals, but the community as a whole. And so surveys are particularly well suited for that. So what I wanted to do is, as Tricia said, is to go through these changes and then talk about how the survey works. Because my bottom line is this: I'm hoping that we will launch this survey tonight, and that each of the commissioners and the people in the audience as well will become ambassadors for this survey, and to try to get as many people to take the survey as possible. That will make it much more effective. And then we'll be able to write a letter, which we will review at the July 10th meeting and submit it to WMATA. Comments are due by July 15th. So let's see if I can make this work. So going to start through the 5 different routes that make a difference to our ANC. The first one is the D6. Currently, as you know, it runs from Sibley Hospital to Stadium Armory, and the proposal is it run from Sibley Hospital to Chinatown. This is a small version of the map. Most of you are familiar with the D6, but you know, it starts at Sibley, comes down MacArthur Boulevard, goes to Reservoir, goes over to DuPont Circle, and then off the screen here, it heads over to Stadium Armory. I didn't bother to show that portion of it. Here is the new proposal. You notice it does start at Sibley Hospital, comes down MacArthur Boulevard as usual, goes up on Reservoir and goes over to DuPont Circle, but then it heads down to Chinatown. Does not go across town. Now, what's important many times is what the frequency is. I tried to compile here what the frequency is of the current buses. That's in the first chart at the top, and then the proposed frequency is below. Now, we don't need to study all this tonight because you're going to find this on the District Engage website, but just in general, you can see that the timing is generally not as good, I think you could say, except, well, it's mixed. There's no early service on Saturday and Sunday, and that may be a problem for the people who work at Sibley. So that's the D6. Moving along to the M4. Currently, as you know, it goes from Sibley Hospital to Barnaby Woods. It goes through Tenleytown. I think most of us who use this probably are heading for Tenleytown. It's a little disjointed getting all the way over to Barnaby Woods. But now the proposal is to go Sibley Hospital through Tenleytown as before, but heading, instead of Barnaby Woods, heading to Fort Totten. So, sorry for my slides here. Hold just a second. See if I can bring this down. This is the current route. The main part that we're interested in most of the time, I think, is the bottom half, the Tenleytown to Sibley Hospital. The new proposal, as I indicated, does start at Sibley Hospital. It goes through Tenleytown, which is good for catching the metro. Goes on up Nebraska Avenue, but doesn't go all the way to Barnaby Woods. Instead, it turns at Military Road and heads on over past, I believe, the major hospital there, Washington Hospital, and it goes to Fort Totten, the metro. If you want to go to the dump, maybe that's a good place to go. Here's the frequency of the M4. So maybe I didn't explain. The idea is to compare the top chart to the bottom chart. The top chart is the current frequency, and the bottom chart is the proposed frequency. If you use this bus, you'll want to study this in some detail. But you notice that they are adding Saturday and Sunday, and some early morning. So this is a significant change.
Commissioner Elkins, very quickly, the M4, are they still calling it the M4, or is it?
No, it's called, I'm sorry, let's see, it's called, oops. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. These numbers.
That's all right. It'll be in the
It's in the actual website, and
I think for the D94. I could be wrong though. I know all the DC ones start with D now.
Right.
I think the D6 might be the D94, but we can get to it.
Oh, that
when
might be right.
we show the engagement.
It's the C81. The C81.
Okay,
Never mind.
We will at some point know these by memory. All right. Then moving over to the other side of our neighborhood on the Massachusetts, Nebraska, New Mexico area is the N2. Currently, it goes from Friendship Heights to Farragut Square and goes by way of Nebraska and New Mexico. They are extending it all out to Bethesda, which may be interesting for a number of people because Bethesda is becoming much more of an employment center. But it's heading, instead of Farragut Square, it's heading to the State Department and Potomac Park. And it goes by way of Western and Spring Valley and New Mexico. So I think this is both the N2 and the N4. If you're familiar with this route, I mean, they sort of overlap. We'll get to the N4 in a minute. But if we come down to the new map, you can see it goes all the way out to Bethesda, comes through Friendship Heights, goes to Western Avenue, and then comes down New Mexico, Tunlaw, and does go over to DuPont Circle, which is good, but then heads on down to the State Department instead of going to Farragut Square. And and get us to the frequency. The N6, by the way, is the weekend and night version of the N2. You can see that the frequency is slightly better in the new version. One of the reasons is because I think this is also substituting for the D2, which services Moore Glover Park. You'll see that I've added the D2 to the survey form because I had a request from ANC3D to try to get them some feedback on the D2 as well. So you'll see that on the survey. I didn't bother to put it here since I don't think most of us take the D2. The N4 is similar to the N2. It starts at Friendship Heights, goes to Farragut Square by way of Western and Mass Avenue. And the proposed doesn't go out to Friendship Heights. It instead starts at Tenleytown and goes to the Convention Center downtown via Nebraska and then Mass Avenue. So that's the same map you saw before. Whoops. This is the new version. As you can see, it starts at Tenleytown, comes on Nebraska Avenue, goes down Mass Avenue, all the way to DuPont, and then to the Washington Convention Center. And here again, the frequency is slightly improved, and it does have some early morning on Saturday and Sunday. As I said, you'll want to, those people who are affected by this will want to study these numbers in more detail. I'm just trying to show you what the general impact is. And then there's a new rush hour service. And this is important to our community because it serves during rush hour, it serves from Tenleytown to Foggy Bottom, but goes by way of Nebraska, New Mexico, and the MacArthur High School. This map is a little hard to figure out because in the fine print, you'll see that the part that we would be interested in is really the Tenleytown down through past MacArthur High School and on down to Foggy Bottom. So this, I think, in theory, is designed to try to help people get to MacArthur High School all the way from Barnaby Woods on down to the high school. And of course, for a number of people in our ANC. And the part of the thing that we care about is the Tenleytown to Foggy Bottom. You'll see that the morning rush and the afternoon rush is 30-minute frequency. I guess it really matters when the 30 minutes is in terms of how it well serves the high school. So that may be of a concern. That's a pretty long, what do you call it? A headway or a headway?
Headwind, they call it.
Headwind. I'd certainly hoped that they were going to give us more frequent than that, but it appears not. Keep in mind, of course, that WMATA is under severe budget constraints. So I'm going to turn now to the survey in a minute, but this is how constituents can find the survey. And I hope we can put this in listservs and everything else. There are really two addresses, one that's focused just on the bus survey as opposed to any other project that may be going on in District Engage. I created one called DC Better Bus. And people may find that more intuitive, but they can also find it under the address, which will be the permanent address of our District Engage, which is 3dconversations.org. That's our new website, so to speak, 3D Conversations. So I I'd like now to essentially take you to the survey. And this is what people will see when they come to the site. You'll notice, for those of you who are commissioners here, that we have called this the ANC3D Engage in order to try to distinguish this from our other website. This is a separate website.
Commissioner Elkins, I don't know if it's lagging. Does everyone see it? I'm still seeing the
Oh,
old.
okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't share correctly. Bear with me.
Those bus lines were very informative. Thank you.
Now, does that show it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our new website, 3dconversations.org. We've called it ANC3D Engage up here at the top to try to distinguish it from our main website. We can get to this by going to our main website. You'll see at the top of our website, our regular website, there is a banner which takes people to this engagement site. And you'll notice over here in the navigation that we have ability to get back to the ANC3D main website. So that's just the connection between these. That's more for commissioners. So you end up down here, and here's a current project. We hope there's going to be more than one soon, but we're starting with this one. So you click on that. And if you use the DC Better Bus, you'll actually end up on this page instead of that first page. And so this says, please give us your comments. It tells why people should give comments just in the short paragraph. And then it has the 5 surveys that are available. The reason we're doing 5 different surveys instead of 1 is because WMATA really doesn't care about all of these all at one time. They're interested in looking at these at on one route at a time. And so we need to be able to give them comments on the D6, the M4, et cetera. And so separating the surveys makes it easier. Also, I think many of our constituents will be interested in 1 or 2 of these and not all 5. So I'm going to take you through the D6. It's the more complicated in some ways than the others, but just to give you a sense of it. So you click on the D6 and you want to take the survey. So here we have the map that I showed you earlier. This is the current D6, just the western portion, and then here's the eastern portion. And here's the new route D4, which people can study in some detail. Here's the frequency. So you've seen these already. These are basically what people can study and say, well, let's see, the frequency is this, but it's going to be this. And can give us some comments. So then what are the questions? Of course, this is what the survey is. How often do you ride the current bus route? So this is looking for current bus riders, several times a week, several times a month, less often, or never. Okay. For what reasons do you take this bus? Select 1 or more. School, work, social visits, healthcare. Just as I say that, I realize I think maybe I'm going to add a none or something, because if they don't take this bus at all, we need to be able to, they need to be able to get out of that. None of these are, only one of these questions is mandatory.
Yeah, and maybe people could also, like, if they use it for work, if their kids use it for school, they should answer as a household and click both.
That's right. That's correct. Then thinking about your normal destinations, will the new route provide you with better access to places, or about the same access, worse access, or not sure? If the new service ran more frequently than shown, would you ride the bus more often, about the same, or not sure? So this sort of gets to a major issue I think many of our constituents may have, and that is the frequency. And so we're trying to get to, is frequency really important to the person who's answering this? And with the changes that that have now been proposed, will you likely take the bus more often, about the same, or less often? And then we have a couple of open questions for people to tell us what starting points or destinations proposed to be removed from the current route are important to you. So for instance, in my case, I used to go down to Farragut Square all the time. It'd be very difficult to get to Farragut Square under the new bus routes. So if you go to Farragut Square, you might want to make that comment. I don't write it down to Farragut Square anymore, so I'm not going to make that personally. What additional comments do you have? What have we not asked that is important to you? If you do not currently ride the bus, what changes would encourage you to do so? This is trying to open up this survey to the widest variety of people in our community, so they can really tell us what they think and not hold them to just the answers that we've dreamed up, as best we could, if ones we thought would be representative. Now, this last question we added because about which ANC neighborhood do you live, because in consultation with the chair, we decided to extend an invitation to ANC 3A and 3B and 3E to have their constituents participate as well. And the reason is because these bus routes don't respect ANC lines. And so our neighbors who live in these other ANCs will be affected by these changes to these very same bus routes. And by asking them, and this one is a required answer, we will be able to separate out the answers and send 3E, all the people from their ANC who answered these questions, so they can have this information and they can send this, they can have their own comments to WMATA, and the same for 3B and 3A. So that's the reason for this. And then we've added here at the bottom an important point that goes to this whole district engaged. If you live in ANC 3D, please do register after you submit the survey so that we can keep you informed of additional ANC community engagement projects and other neighborhood matters. We will not share your contact information, but we'll use it only for ANC 3D purposes. So if you do register, and let's see if I can be able to show you this. I'll go into the back end of the site in order to show you this. By the way, this is the kind of data we'll be able to get from surveys that you see there. When one registers, they're given the opportunity to indicate, and it's not in this form, but indicate that they're interested in other topics besides just buses. So buses, sidewalks and pedestrians, bicycles and scooters, vehicular traffic, transportation in general, land use, construction, public space, public safety, parks and recreation, schools and hospitals, trash, waste and leaves, seniors, environment, climate and trees, and licenses such as liquor and cannabis. This will, to the extent that we get our constituents here in 3D to sign up and register into this community engagement website, they can indicate they'd like to be involved if we ever get to something involving schools or parks and recreation or public safety. And then in a few days, I believe we will also be able to get them to answer questions. Unfortunately, this is a glitch in the programming of our dear hosts down in Australia, and they are trying to fix it for us as fast as they can to allow us to find out whether people live in Berkeley, Vauxhall, Kent, Palisades, Spring Valley, Wesley Heights, or other. So this will hopefully, we've never had, as an ANC, we've never had the email addresses of people who live in our neighborhood. now that we have an engagement software, which we hope will allow us to engage more between constituents and the ANC, it will be helpful to know what neighborhood people live in, so that if there are things in particular, we might want to communicate. So even as simple, I mean, maybe this is not a good example, but if we were going to focus on traffic safety on that portion of Foxhall Road based on the concerns that was expressed at tonight's meeting, then we would want to tell people who live in Foxhall that we're beginning to do this and want to get their input. So that's the advantage of this. It's trying to foster a two-way conversation with our constituents. So that's the end of discussion. And I guess, Madam Chairman, I would hope that the ANC would endorse the going live with this survey, and also become ambassadors to really try to get as many people to respond. I think I'm correct that last time we had a survey with SurveyMonkey, we got on buses, we got something like 500 or 600 responses. People care about buses in this community. And so I'm hoping with this more robust way of engaging people that we'll get maybe 1,000. And I think we may then end up being an ANC that can come into WMATA and say, look, we heard from 1,000 of our constituents, or 500, or how many, and this is what we learned.
I know that a lot of work went into this, and I like it that it's focused on our public transportation that is here. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? If you're thinking about it, there's a lot of work that goes into building these projects. I have built one that is about to launch to a small group of people on safe routes to Key. So that's going to be launching very soon. Commissioner Elkins, did you want to talk about the timeline of the launch and when you are expecting to collect data or collect responses, and then what happens after that?
Yes, thank you. I forgot about that. So it hopefully opens tonight, closes on Monday, the 24th of June. We wanted to close it soon enough because of the holiday with July 4th and all that, and which is an important holiday in our neighborhood that takes up everybody's attention, that we have enough time to actually analyze the results and produce a draft report, which we would then send to the Transportation Committee, which would probably meet the end of that week. That date has not been scheduled, but that's what we're hoping for, Thursday or Friday of that week, in which time they could help us and give us some advice based on the results that we will have already compiled from this survey about how we might address these issues with the WMATA. So that then by the time we get to the 10th, which is when our next meeting is, thank goodness it's not the 4th or the 5th, that we will have a letter that I think all of us will have had a chance to look at, and we'll be able to approve. I'm hoping that I will be able to persuade each of you commissioners to take a hard look at the results of the data. We'll try to package it up so it is not burdensome, so that you can make a major contribution to how we address what our constituents are telling us.
Thank you. We're going to be sending this out on the listservs, Nextdoor, neighboring listservs. We're hoping to get a real robust idea of what people are looking for. Thank you, Commissioner Elkins.
Yes. I would just say, I asked maybe JP whether you think the Foxhall Village Community Association might be willing to help us publicize this. Is that something you could help us with?
Sure. I think that they would like that because we have a lot of people that take the T6, obviously, which is the only bus route on our block.
So if you could do that, and give it some credibility so people will participate, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I know how much work went into that, and I, for one, am excited to see it in action. So thank you, Commissioner Elkins, so much. Commissioner Roosevelt, did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
I just want to say thanks to Commissioner Elkins. I mean, it looks incredible. It will hopefully be an incredible resource to us. And also, I think I might post it on Nextdoor because most people in Spring Valley are not on, the Palisades listserv or the Foxhall listserv. Maybe we should. Do you think we should put it on the like Tenleytown listservs, or maybe just those ANCs will do that?
So 3E and 3B and 3A are going to distribute that on their
Okay.
respective listservs.
Right.
But yes, definitely Nextdoor, and I'll try and find it and comment it to help the algorithm.